forged from the love of liberty, in the fires of hope and prayer, with boundless faith in our destiny, we solemnly declare. Side by side we stand, islands of the blue Caribbean Sea, this our native land. We pledge our lives to thee. Here every creed and race find an equal place, and may God bless our nation. Here every creed and race find an equal place, and may God bless our nation.
Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishapahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Sangha Daksha Arama. Daksha ध्वज प्रणाम 1 2 3 आरंभ।
Om Bhūmirbhūmnādyo Varinantarikshaṁ Maritva Upasthete Devyadikrekrimannādamannādyāyādade Ayam Gau Prishnirakrameelasanan Mātaram Punaha Pitaram Cha Prayam Subhava Trigam Shraddhāma Virājati Vāpatankāya Shishriye Pratyasya Mahatyubihi Asya Prānādapanatyantasya Virochana Vyakyan Mahishas Subhava Yatva Kruddha Paropapamanyunāyadavatya Sukalpamagre Tattava Punasto Dīpayāmasi Yatte Manyuparoktasya Prithivī Manuradvase Aditya Vishve Tatteva Vasavascha Samāvaram Nedini Devi Vasundharasya Vasudha Devi Vasavi Brahmavarchasa Pitrinada Shrotram Chakshurmanaha Devi Hiranyagarbhini Devi Prasubari Sarane Satyayane Sira Samudravati Savitri Mano Devi Manyangi Mahidharani Mahogyatishta Shringe Shringe Yajne Yajne Vidishini Indrapatni Vyapini Surasariviha Vayumati Jalashayani Shriyam Taraja Satyam Goparidevini Shoparidattam Parikaya Vishnu Patni Mahim Devi Madhavi Madhavapriya Lakshmi Priyasaki Devi Namamyachyuta Vallabha Om Tanurdharaya Vidmahe Sarvasiddhye Cha Dhimahi Tanno Dhara Prachodayat Mahim Devim Vishnu Patni पत्नीमजूर्यां प्रतीचीनेनागं हविषाय जामः त्रेधा विष्णुरुद्रायो विचक्रमे महीं दिवं पृथिवीम् अन्तरिक्षं तच्छो नैतिश्रवरिच्छमाना पुण्यकश्लोकं यजमानाय कृण्वति ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरिः ओम् श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ओम्
आर्यपुत्राः ऋषिपुत्राः माननीयाः सभामन्त्रिणः सर्वान् हिन्दुजनान् नमामि प्रणमामि. Hari Om to all Hindus, honored and respected inhabitants of this land of ours, and our children of the Rishis. I offer my salutations and my pranams. Asmakam Dashami Varsha Pratipada Sansadi Pritya Bhavatam Swagatam Karumi. It is with great honor and pleasure that I welcome you to our 10th Varsha Pratipada Sansad, VPS, and extend hearty greetings of this Hindu New Year to you all by saying Sukhadu Navavarsho Bhavatu. May this New Year bring us all joy. In the midst of a global pandemic and social and environmental upheavals, our multicultural society requires more than ever a bold and striking united Hindu voice to call our citizens to Dharma, to right living and right thinking, and to address the urgent needs of the moment. No more compelling a topic can there be than that of Ecology Vai Dharma. Ecology is indeed our Dharma. VPS commenced its journey in 2012, 10 years ago, when Trinidad and Tobago had celebrated its 50th year of independence. We reflected at that time then that Hindus, in spite of having many institutions, needed to have a firm footing in their representation as well as to have a sound and stable voice. A voice that reflects well on civilizational thought, and most importantly, one that is replete with guidance from our Shastric injunctions to institute change at a national level. 10 years later, that voice is still with us as our Mārg Darshak, Pūjya Swāmī Prakāśānandajī. VPS seeks to inform, to inspire, and also to seek guidance from our fellow Hindus, and today will present thoughts on our theme this year, Ecology Vai Dharma. We commenced the program today with Vedic chanting of Bhū Suktam, a sacred hymn to the glories of Mother Earth, the Divine Mother who sustains all of us without complaint of her increasing burdens. It was done by the Vedanta students of Chinmaya Mission, Trinidad and Tobago, Sandipani. Our program continues now with Savadhan. Savadhan is a call to attention for the society to bring awareness to the grave issues facing us at the local, national and international arenas, and which necessitate the Hindu voice to bring the ringing cry of Dharma to the national consciousness. We invite now Dr. Vedavit Manikji of the Vishwanath Hindu Social and Cultural Organization of Sankraganti to lend us his voice.
Sitaram. 175 years after the arrival of East Indians, the Hindu community has contributed immeasurably to the identity that is Trinidad and Tobago. The Hindu is no less patriotic than any other community calling these islands home. In our multicultural society, we need to stop seeing challenges as being unique and exclusive to one ethnic group, but rather we need to recognize that all perspectives are essential to nation building. Sanatana Dharma demands that we Hindus continue to serve our country by bringing to the nation's attention issues of concern and offering viewpoints and solutions rooted in our traditions' timeless wisdom. Savadhan translates into caution. This platform allows the Varsha Pratipada Sansad to alert the population to current issues of concern that can have continued or emerging consequences in the future. We offer our viewpoints guided by Sanatana Dharma and encourage a national conversation and solutions to the benefit of all citizens. Issue 1, Race Relations. Perennial manifestations of racism continue to concern the Varsha Pratipada Sansad. Trinidad and Tobago, and by extension the wider Caribbean, is a multi-religious, multi-ethnic demographic that cannot emerge as a world civilization by excluding the constituent ethnic groups. It is not reassuring that our politicians, the very persons who are vying for the responsibility to lead us into the future, are the very ones who are catalysts to racial tensions, either directly or overtly. The lead-up to and the aftermath of the last general election, as well as recent publications in the media, both conventional as well as social media, underline that beneath the civility and camaraderie that exists, there is a post-colonial remnant of mistrust amongst all ethnic groups. If we do not encourage an open and honest national conversation on race relations that is founded not on tolerance, but rather founded on the word respect, then soon the increasing weight of racial tension will suffocate all our aspirations as a Caribbean people. We need a reformation of our education curriculum to promote understanding and respect for all persons. Our social studies and history textbooks and our curriculum must contain content that are genuinely representative of all our ethnicities, especially those who have been considered by the colonial mindset as being pagan, namely the Hindus, the Orishas, and our indigenous Amerindians. All these groups must be able to write their perspectives so that Trinidad and Tobago can understand rather than accept colonial cliches and misconceptions. All of us, each citizen of this country, must hold public officials, be it our politicians, our media personalities, or even influencers on the social media, accountable both tangibly as well as morally whenever they make racial indiscretions. Respect is essential at all levels, be it from genuine attempts to pronounce Hindu and other names and terminologies to ensuring that there is credible expert viewpoints on current issues. Issue 2, India's Vaccine Maitri Initiative. The Varsha Pratipada Sansad notes the many recent criticisms of the India's vaccine diplomacy, known as Vaccine Maitri or Vaccine Friendship. This program's inspiration is deeply rooted in Sanatana Dharma's core, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, meaning that the world is one family. Many criticisms displayed ignorance of this fundamental concept. Additionally, by alluding to the proponents of the program as being literally or figuratively the devil, commentators inadvertently invoke the colonial prejudice faced by many ethnic groups, especially Hindus, who do not even have the concept of the devil in their culture. We remind all public officials that it is their dharma, their duty, to accurately represent and not incite misconceptions. Issue 3, Escalating Violence in Trinidad and Tobago. For yet another year, Trinidad and Tobago has seen unprecedented violence, both in terms of numbers as well as gore. Increasing violence, particularly against our women, who are the foundations of our homes and society, is particularly distressing. The Varsha Pratipada Sansad adds our voice to others on this issue and asks that appropriate short and long-term policies deter not only gender-based violence, but also violence in all forms, must be considered and implemented. Issue 4, climate change. The United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, UNESCO, has long documented the catastrophic impact climate change will bring to small island nations, including Caribbean territories like Trinidad and Tobago. Climate change is real, and it is here. Worsening coastal erosion, droughts, destructive flooding, and even pandemics are the consequences of our parasitic exploitation of the environment, fueled by colonial and capitalist mindsets. Varsha Pratipada Sansad highlights that within our own country, significant countercurrent viewpoints on our relationship with the environment is present amongst our indigenous peoples, the Hindus and the Orishas. These cultures have always embraced a symbiotic relationship with nature, whereby us caring for our environment in turn, we are nourished and sustained by it. This viewpoint is at the core of this year's theme, Ecology Vai Dharma. And it is for this reason we encourage you to continue with our presentation as we explore this theme further. Sitaram.
Shreya Patra Shuchi is our opportunity as a body of Hindu voices to recognize the great and meritorious contributions of dharmic Hindus across the world, who are even now striding forth to sustain the society through their work. Shri Devarup Timalji, Sangha Chalak of the Hindu Swayamsevak Sangh, with the assistance of Shri Raviji of the Heritage Vacation Course, will now present the Shreya Patra 2021 on behalf of the Sansad.
Namaskar. One of the most cherished ideals of our Sanatana Dharma is that of Vishwa Kalyan, the welfare of all. In the Vedas, we are told, Sarve bhavantu sukhinaha, sarve santu niramaya, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kashtit dukkha bhavit. May all be happy, may all be free from illness, may all see what is auspicious, and may no one suffer. The COVID vaccine Maitreya program, initiated by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, embodies this principle of our Hindu civilization. In a world where the focus of the rich and powerful nations has been to corner the vaccine market for their own citizens, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has given realistic ground to the vision of our ancient rishis, in which the welfare of all is given topmost consideration, despite the trying circumstances that we ourselves may be subjected to. Prime Minister Modi has brought the human touch to international diplomacy. VPS 2021 is indeed privileged to bestow this Shreya Patra Award to the Honorable Prime Minister of India, Shri Narendra Modi, and respectfully request His Excellency, Shri Arun Kumar Sahu, India's High Commissioner to Trinidad and Tobago, to accept this award on his behalf.
Swāmī Prakāśānandajī, elected Mārg Chinmay Mission, Gita Bahini ji, President Hindu Prachar Kendra, Ravi ji Maharaj, Founder Hindu Prachar Kendra, Sri Revan Tilak Singh, President Seva TT International, members of the Varsha Pratipada Sansad of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Namaste. I am honored to be invited to this august gathering today. It is a privilege for me as the High Commissioner of India to listen to your views and exchange ideas how to further work closely to enhance people-to-people contacts between India and Trinidad and Tobago. I have maintained that the people of Indian descent are both the branches and the root of the great banyan tree India with a civilizational history of over 5,000 years. At the outset, let me express on behalf of my Prime Minister, Sri Narendra Modi ji, and also the people of India, my deepest gratitude for this award at the 10th sitting of the Parliament of the Hindu New Year. As you are aware, the civilizational foundation of India is the precept of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, the whole world is one family. During the coronavirus pandemic, keeping that spirit alive, on 15th of August last year, on the occasion of the Independence Day of India, Prime Minister had announced that India's vaccine manufacturing capacity will be utilized for the benefit of the whole humanity. In September 2020, he reiterated this commitment at the UN General Assembly. Under our Vaccine Maitri initiative, I am proud to convey that as of today, over 64 million doses of made in India vaccines have been supplied to 84 countries, including UN peacekeeping forces. Over 10.5 million of this are donations without any strings attached to it, and 18.91 million doses were dispatched under COVAX facility. As you are aware, on 24th March 2021, we announced a donation of 40,000 AstraZeneca Covishield vaccines to Trinidad and Tobago, and I expect that in the next few days, the vaccines will arrive here. It may be also recalled that last year during the pandemic, External Affairs Minister of India, Dr. S. Jaishankar, had spoken to his then counterpart, Senator Dennis Moses, and offered medical aid including PPE kits, hydroxychloroquine, and paracetamol to Trinidad and Tobago, and we had delivered. People of Indian descent in the last 176 years have made remarkable progress in this part of the world. You have excelled in various walks of life, including politics, business, academics, medicine, law, engineering, etc. Most importantly, however, you have done remarkably well in preserving and promoting the Hindu way of life and Indian culture. The 21st century India is strong today and stronger tomorrow. On behalf of the government and people of India, I assure you of all possible support for connecting you to the land of your ancestors and strengthen the historical and cultural ties between you and the people and the organizations in India. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Spiritual giant Swāmī Vivekananda vividly and forcefully gave us the bold proclamation, service to humanity is service to God. Thus elevating the practice of seva from just a social dimension into the dimensions of spirituality. We see the proclamation of Swāmī Vivekananda being given life by the work of Seva Trinidad and Tobago. This group of young and dynamic कार्यकर्ताs is blazing a trail in the field of selfless effort for the welfare of all in Trinidad and Tobago, and is providing a basis for it to spread throughout the Caribbean. Seva Trinidad and Tobago has brought an element of creativity and innovation into its work that has proved successful in engaging the Hindu youth in its work. And this has now become a marked feature of its engagement with the citizens of our nation. This is clearly evidenced by the many unique and meaningful projects undertaken by the group during the COVID-19 pandemic and its readiness and availability during periods of flooding in several parts of the country. VPS 2021 is indeed privileged to bestow this Shreya Patra Award to Seva Trinidad and Tobago for their selfless service to the citizens and the nation of Trinidad and Tobago, and respectfully calls on Sri Revan Tilak Singh, its president, to accept on their behalf.
Shraddhanjali is a celebration and remembrance of those who have now joined the Pitris, the ancestors, who served as pillars of Dharma both in the performance of their duties in this life and as noble icons for future generations to uphold. Their indelible contributions are now being honored by Sarvesh Maharaj Ji and Shane Musai Ji of the Hindu Students' Council.
Jai Shri Ram. Shraddhanjali. VPS 2021 recognizes and pays homage to these four pillars of Dharma that we have lost in our community. Our first pillar of Dharma, Sadguru Dev Ji, Professor Hari Shankar Adesh. We offer this tarpan for him. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushti Vardhanam Urvarukam Bandhanat Mrityorimukshamaamritat. Om Namah Shivaya. Our second pillar of Dharma, Swargiya Shri Satnarayan Maharaj Ji. We offer this tarpan for him. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushti Vardhanam Urvarukam Bandhanat Mrityorimukshamaamritat. Om Namah Shivaya. Our third pillar of Dharma, Swargiya Shri Sam Budram. We offer this tarpan for him. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushti Vardhanam Urvarukam Vandhanat Mrityorimukshamaamritat. Om Namah Shivaya. And our fourth and final pillar of Dharma, we offer this tarpan to him, Swargiya Pandit Ramsaran Bisasa. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushti Vardhanam Urvarukam Bandhanat Mrityorimukshamaamritat. Om Namah Shivaya. And doing so, we pay homage to these four pillars of Dharma. Om Sarve Pitrebhyo Namaha. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om.
The VPS Senate Sabha is a yearly public forum for the VPS topic of the year to be discussed. Senators are chosen specially to present on the topic as informed parties due to their social and professional duties in the related sphere, after which there is a lively question and answer forum. Brahmacharya Kalkaji, Sabhapati, will now deliver a report on the 4th Senate sitting of 2020 and our first ever Youth Senate 2021.
Hari Om. The Varsha Pratipada Sansad has convened 2 Senate hearings on the subject of Ecology Vai Dharma in 2020 and again this year in 2021. At our 4th Senate hearing in 2020, our esteemed senators represented a range of professional fields and gave the benefit of their wisdom and experience. It was held at Hindu Prachar Kendra and opened with the remarks of Srimati Sharda Mahavir. She is the National Coordinator of the Global Environment Facility's Small Grants Program and holds a PhD in Environmental Biology from the University of the West Indies. She spoke on the human cost to the environment through their effects such as pollution in vast garbage deposits, toxic flow into our waterways including the Gulf of Paria, and the burning of trash and the releasing of particulates into the atmosphere. She was followed by Dale J. Mangal Singh Ji, who is a project officer of the Environmental Management Authority iCare program. He introduced some of Trinidad's responses to the pollution and plastics issue. This includes the iCare model being implemented across public spaces such as schools to collect and dispose of recyclable waste. We were then also very fortunate to hear the Shastric perspective from our beloved Maya Vahini Ji of Hindu Prachar Kendra who is a teacher of Hindu philosophy. She spoke regarding the role of Hindus towards our Bhūmī Mātā, the role of the individual as being none other than the very child of the earth, owing her all the love and duty due to the mother for her care and protection. The Senate was also honored to hear the remarks of Sri Dr. John Agardji. He is a Nobel laureate in the field of environmental studies and a faculty of University of the West Indies. Dr. Agard spoke of the wide global community, addressing the environmental needs of the planet and the role of Trinidad and Tobago in this worldwide conversation. He pointed to the many unbalanced incentives in our society, which give benefit and legal loopholes to encourage exploitative governmental practices. In 2021, the Varsha Pratipada Sansad was given the privilege of hosting our first ever sitting of the Youth Varsha Pratipada Senate at the Vishwanath Hindu Social and Cultural Organization of Sangre Grande. The voices of the youth rose up to express their concerns in regards to the dire needs of the ecology. The first youth to address the Sabha was Shruti Narayanji. She is a member of the Paramdhama Ashrama and an employee at TNTech. She spoke on the importance of establishing a culture of earth democracy and encouraging strong resistance to unjust practices and to promote an ecological democracy for all global citizens. Next was Birendra Dukhiji of the Hindu Swayam Sevak Sangh, who holds his bachelor's degree in environmental management and biology, as well as a master's degree in tropical animal science and production. He addressed issues such as biodiversity loss across the planet, as well as consideration for the earth as being a finite system with finite resources, and the need to develop policies which is in line with this view. This was followed by a rousing presentation by Amal Maharaj C. Mangalji, class valedictorian of Arima Presbyterian School in 2017, and currently a Form 4 science student at Hillview College. He spoke on Hindu practices and ecological challenges, a teenager's perspective. He made a compelling and passionate argument for the updating of Hindu practices to be more in line with environmental awareness. Finally, we were also graced to hear Saraswati Shankarji, who is a postgraduate student at the University of West Indies pursuing a Master's of Philosophy in Environmental Biology. She presented on her findings in regards to honeybee husbandry and honey production, as well as its ties to the environmental practices of Trinidad and Tobago. The VPS thanks from the bottom of our hearts all of our esteemed, passionate, and informed senators for their contribution to the national and public dialogue in this interactive forum. We are truly in their debt. Thank you. Hari Om.
Namaskar. Our Mārg Darshak is Pūjya Swāmī Prakāśānandajī Saraswati, the spiritual head of Chinmaya Mission, Trinidad and Tobago. Pūjya Swāmīji holds a bachelor's degree in political science and philosophy from York University, Toronto. His spiritual yearning deepened upon his meeting with Pūjya Gurudev Swāmī Chinmayananda, the founder of Chinmaya Mission. After this meeting, there was no turning back for Pūjya Swāmī Prakāśānanda. He went on to spend 6 years in India studying Sanskrit and Vedanta at Sandipani Sadhanalaya, Mumbai, and he also pursued his law degree at Banaras Hindu University. After returning to Trinidad, Pūjya Swāmī Prakāśānanda founded the Chinmaya Mission in October 1997. He is truly a dynamic and charismatic guru, teaching and serving in his inimitable style through satsangs, yagyas, and camps, both locally and abroad. Under Pūjya Swāmīji's astute leadership, Chinmaya Vidyalaya was also established. For his dedicated community service, he was awarded the Shakonia Gold Medal in 2012 by the government of Trinidad and Tobago. Varsha Pratipada Sansad is honored to have Pūjya Swāmī Prakāśānandajī as the voice of the Sansad, and we welcome him as our Mārg Darshak, the one who will guide our way forward and enlighten our path. Pūjya Swāmīji.
ॐ संगच्छध्वं संवदध्वं संवो मनांसि जानतां देवा भागै यथा पूर्वे संजानाना उपासति समानो मन्त्रः समितिः समानी समाना मन्त्रः सह चित्तमेषां समानं मन्त्रमभिमन्त्रये वः समानेन वो हविषा जुहोमि समानी वाकुतिः समाना हृदयानि वः समानमस्तु वो मनो यथा वस्सु सहासति.
The earth is my extended body, and the rate at which we are depleting the earth's resources, driven by lobha, greed, and kama, desire, is much more than the earth can bear. My friends, this year, our topic in the Varsha Pratipada Sansad is Ecology Vai Dharma. Ecological issues and the ecology is itself our dharma. We are facing the most intractable problem the human species has ever encountered. Not the pandemic, but a pandemic of sorts, an environmental pandemic in the making, the effects of which we are already seeing or have started to see across the earth in the form of global warming and the consequent unprecedented levels of flooding resulting in billions of dollars of loss and damage every year. The scientific community has diligently done its work and has been publishing its results and conclusions for years. We, the so-called intelligent species, are bringing not only our civilization, but all species to the brink of destruction. In short, this is the conclusion of the scientific community. Our thesis in the Varsha Pratipada Sansad. The thesis is, in this presentation, that the problem cannot be solved under the circumstances of the present world order, and that Hinduism has the solution to this problem. Whether we will strive to diligently adopt the means to solve this problem is quite another question. But we do, in fact, have the solution to this problem, more than anybody else, perhaps. Let me take some time to first articulate the complexity of this global problem which the species has found itself in. The matter of ecological degradation is confounded because, one, there is an inability of each of us to easily connect cause to effect on environmental matters. It is not easy to connect cause to effect as we do for ordinary daily things. Two, politics, economics, and greed have formed a formidable union which form the most insurmountable hurdle we have in dealing with this global problem. Let us look at the first one, cause and effect. Even when we buy into the scientific conclusions the relation between cause and effect in environmental matters is not very evident to the average world citizen. It is easy to see that our neighbors upstream threw debris into the river, which clogged the cylinders and caused the river to overflow onto the adjoining road. That is something which is easy to see. However, it is very difficult for the average person to see that me driving my car to the supermarket down the street just to get some baby milk is the cause for something as big as the recent flooding in Sydney, Australia, which cost $2 billion, or which caused the 2017 Houston floods, which costed 100 lives and $125 billion worth of damage. So it is very difficult for us to connect me driving my car down the street to such a global calamity. That connection of cause to effect is not so easy to see. The average person will say, what does that have to do with? Does me driving my car down the street have to do with flooding in Australia or flooding in Houston? But there is a connection. The cause-effect relationship in these cases seem abstract and far-fetched. It is difficult to see because in environmental matters, the cause is usually in one jurisdiction and the effect in another. This is the first reason. Like, we cannot see how here in Trinidad our all emissions from Point Lisas affect things in Venezuela. It's not easy to see that. Secondly, there is a time lapse in the cause-effect equation. We keep contributing to deforestation, and the effects of this deforestation comes years later. The cause-effect relations become doubly difficult to see when the cause and effect are separated by both time and space. Desha Kal. This is one of the peculiar problems that we are facing today, which is confounded by time and space. And so it is very, very difficult to see. Because it is difficult to see the connection between cause and effect in environmental matters, one's actions and the resultant environmental degradation, which has resulted, that connection we can't see. It becomes harder for individuals to subscribe to a regimented lifestyle, which requires us to think about the environment and the choices we make. So this problem is what we call an abstract problem, if you may want to call it that. Then the other issue, politics, economics, and greed. On the world stage, the big nations are engaged, and we all know this, the big nations are engaged in a relentless race for military might and economic dominance, which are, of course, connected. These pursuits most certainly cannot give way to environmental concerns. The relentless pursuit for military might and economic dominance by the big nations will not give way to environmental concerns. If they do, then the perpetrators will lose the race. Global warming, as the name suggests, is a global problem, with the causes emanating in one jurisdiction and the effects felt in other jurisdictions. It will not be sufficient for one state to regulate its industries and let others do as they please. So if I go on regulating my industries and I let the other nations do as they please, I lose the race. I lose the race to dominate militarily and economically. A global problem of this sort demands global consensus and global cooperation, something wholly inconceivable given the international political climate of today. Nor has this international political climate ever been any better. Maybe today it is at its best. Additionally, we have all of us, in toto, we have wholeheartedly subscribed to the world economic order, which is raw capitalism in its most virulent form. The rationale behind capitalism is not a desire to feed the world population or bring equity or any such thing. The rationale boils down to two: greed for more and political dominance arising out of economic prowess. In Hinduism, we say, Yatha Pinda, Tatha Brahmanda. As is the individual, so is the whole. And Yatha Raja, Tatha Praja. As is the king, so are the subjects. Both these statements fully characterize the problem at hand. Politics among nations, which has always been defined by conquering, by whichever means, of course, and by dominance, is nothing but the reflection of the infirmities in the human bosom. Because we together make up the world. And the infirmities there inherent in the human bosom is what is going to reflect at the international level. Nations want to conquer and dominate because each of us want to conquer and dominate. What emerges at the national level is merely a reflection of our collective inner sentiments and inclinations. We see an unwillingness and incapability at the international level in arresting this problem of environmental degradation because nations are inextricably mired up in the quest for dominance through economic and military might. This is much akin to the individual who has no willpower to follow a strict dietary regimen and exercise, which the doctors prescribe as the only solution to his ailment. So just as at the individual level, we don't have the will to follow whatever is prescribed for our own benefit, so also this is reflected at the international level. International bodies or world governments do not have the will, just as individuals don't have the will, because that is just a reflection of what we are. Very much like the person who drives to the gym to get exercise, when if he had walked to the gym, he would not have needed the exercise nor the gym. Hinduism, the need of the era. Both at the individual and international levels, there is a formidable resistance to deal with this global problem. The real reason boils down to the age-old durgunas in the human heart, negative traits in the human heart. And this is how Hinduism becomes so relevant. These durgunas, notably greed and attachment. No other religion addresses these durgunas as much as Hinduism does. Throughout the Bhagavad Gita, from beginning to end, Bhagavan mentions about Kama, Krodha, Lobha. Throughout the Bhagavad Gita. So the durgunas are treated over and over and over. The rules for mukti at the spiritual level, which requires, of course, removal of these durgunas, have to be the same for mukti at the physical level. We do not have to teach, we do not teach that there is one rule for mukti or liberation and another for living in society. We don't teach that sort of thing. The same rules and disciplines which we follow for our liberation in this sphere of spirituality are the same rules we have to follow for liberation from the environmental problem which we are having. We do not teach the existence of two. We teach oneness. We are our environment, and whatever rules I want to follow for mukti, I have to follow that to free my environment and so free myself, because I am my environment. Dharma vai ecology. Many may not want to hear or accept this, but the one and only solution to our environmental woes is to consume less. You may make whatever type of argument you want, but in the final analysis, it boils down to this. I am not merely speaking about consumption of less food. Rather, it is about consumption brought about by the seemingly incurable disease of consumerism. This is the same disease Bhagavan Shri Krishna tries to remove when he constantly speaks of Kama, Krodha and Lobha, especially Kama and Lobha in Gita. He says, Trividam narakasyedam dwaram nashanamaatmanaha tasmat etat trayam tyajet. I should drop these three. What? Kama, Krodha, Lobha. Kama, Krodha, tatha, Lobha. And for us, the relevant words is Kama, desires, and Lobha, greed. Desire and anger and greed are the three doors to Narak. This is the translation of the verse. 3 doors to Narak. Therefore, he says, drop them. It is desire and greed which are the causes of the disease of consumerism. And it is the very disease which is at the root of our global environmental dilemma. All of us want the environmental mess to abate. But all of us also want nice cars and flashy technological trendy products and all such things. We do not see any contradiction in the two desires. But they are wholly contradictory. We say, no, we can find cleaner and more eco-friendly alternatives. This is the argument, right? We can find cleaner and more eco-friendly alternatives to satisfy our desires. It is not going to happen. It is taking out khaki pants and putting on blue dog pants. That's what the old people used to say. We thought that fossil fuels are putting too much strain on the environment. This was our first thought, right? Then what we do? Therefore, let us make electric cars. Because we're trying to find an eco-friendly alternative. Let us make electric cars so we don't put such a strain on the environment. Well, it is not going to work. The mining of cobalt in Africa and lithium in South America and all the other minerals required for the manufacture of batteries for electric cars are wreaking just as much a havoc on the environment, and this is only the beginning stages. As the fossil fuels havoc we wreaked on the environment. We are destroying the earth at the same pace. In other words, actually shifting from one product, fossil fuels, to another product, batteries for cars, for electric cars, that shift does not solve the environmental problem. Shifting from more consumption to less consumption is the one and only means this species has at its disposal. We have to learn to do with less, and nobody is prepared to do that. You just do a little bit of cost-benefit analysis of any alternative which human beings are trying to gather right now, and you will see. We are all talking about solar panels. Oh, Now the media, now the researchers, and now the people are starting to do the research with regard to the manufacture of these things. And right here in our Chile, they have dug mines in which you can fit Trinidad. And it's just going on and on and on. And in places like Africa where they're doing the mining, there's child labor and all the same problems. Everything just going on and on the same way. So who is prepared to do it less? Nobody's prepared. The willpower to change can only come from, and this is part of today's thesis, it can only come from environmental literacy. And when we speak about environmental literacy in Hinduism, it is the most fundamental teaching about our environment. Environmental sensitivity, mutuality, and sanskar. It covers a wide range of things. Environmental pedagogy was perfected by the rishis long ago, meaning how to teach our generation now and teach future generations about conserving the different parts of the environment, how to do such a big job. Because I started by telling that this is a very, very complex problem, and people cannot see the relation between cause and effect. So the rishis had to think about this. How are we going to explain to our future generations or teach our future generations about conserving the earth, about protecting the earth? Well, the rishis are very good at this. Due to the complexity of the problem, the rishis recognized or gave recognition to the earth not as Jadavastu, a dead inert thing. The earth is given the status of Dharti Mātā. The earth is given the status of mother, a goddess mother, the Devi, Mother Earth. It is easier for a student or son of the earth, a daughter of the earth, to understand the earth as a Devi and develop reverence for the Devi than to explain the very complex connections between things on this earth. That you have this type of activity here, but the effect is felt over there. It's very, very difficult to explain those type of abstract things. But we already know what it is to worship God. We already know what is divinity. We already belong to a culture that divinizes rivers, that divinizes trees and animals. We divinize the whole earth. This is the approach. It is easier for a person to have reverence for the goddess than to understand the seeming remoteness of cause and effects as regards to the environmental problem that we have. The first item of environmental literacy is therefore reverence for the earth. Like all branches of knowledge in Hinduism, the first item is always reverence. And for the earth we have Bhūmī Pūjya. Every Hindu has heard this. Bhūmī Pūjya. Bhūmī Pratimanana. These type of words are there in our culture. Means great reverence for Bhūmī. Bhūmī is personified in the Ramayana. Bhūmī goes with all the devatas to meet Bhagwan Vishnu to tell them that Ravan has become too much of a burden. She is there. In modern language, this reverence for Bhūmī, we are using in this year's Varsha Pratipada Sansad, we are calling it Ecology Vai Dharma. We have just phrased it to capture this great and wonderful teaching of the rishis to all of us, to treat the earth as a goddess. Environmental literacy also necessarily involves reduced consumption. If I deplete the energies of my body at a faster rate than my body can replenish itself, then I'm bartering away my life unknowingly. This is a very Easy thing to understand. Well, that is what I am doing to the earth. Like the man with the goose and the golden egg. The goose can only produce one egg per day. But he wants to kill the goose to get all the eggs same day. The earth, therefore, as I said in the beginning, is my extended body. And the rate at which we are depleting earth's resources, driven by lobha, greed, and karma, desire, is much more than the earth can bear. It is also an onslaught on the Devi. It is also an onslaught on the goddess. This point became very evident to all of us over the last year because of the pandemic. The earth got a refreshing respite due to the reduced economic activity. The Hindus have the solution to the woes of the environment. In other faiths of the world, the earth is not lifted to that status of the Devi. We arise in the morning and beg for forgiveness from Mother Earth because now we are going to put our foot on her. So we beg her for forgiveness. Mother, please forgive me for doing this, putting my foot on you. We say, Mata Bhūmī Putroham. Mother, Earth, and I am her son. Earth is the mother, I am her son. Putroham, the Vedas bellow out. The earth is my mother and I am her offspring. What is the duty then of a son? There's a wonderful verse from the Purana which says, Pum narakat trayate iti pum saha. The son is he who saves the parent from going to narak, from going to the worst condition. The son is the one who saves the parent from going to the worst condition. We seem to be bringing narak right here to our Mother Earth, rather than saving the earth from going to narak. Concretizing the son's dharma towards the mother, the rishis have made the Pancha Mahayajnas mandatory for all offsprings of the earth. My personal sadhana for mukti must necessarily include the benefit to all of society also. Atmano mokshartham jagad hitaya cha. We dealt with this topic in the past already. The designation of a son brings with it responsibility towards my earthly siblings and my household, which is the earth. Like the heart or the lungs that have responsibility for the whole body, so the Pancha Mahayajnas is a deliberate sadhana which is in the form of responsibility towards all around me. The rishis, the devas, the pitris, means the forefathers, manushya, all human beings, and bhutas, all other living things. I have responsibility towards all of them. It reminds me of the Bhagavad Gita principle, parasparam bhavayantaha. We serve each other and we prosper. And in this regard, let me take some time to dwell on that phrase a little bit. Quite often, we hear that we have to protect the earth because, like dharma, if we protect the earth, it will protect us. This may very well work as a rationale for environmental protection, but this rationale still possesses a tinge of selfishness. The rishis did not want to stop at that superficial level. Only because, see, the selfishness is what? Only because I want protection, I'll protect the earth. That rationale is still superficial. While it is possible to read this type of meaning into the Gita phrase, parasparam bhavayantaha, serving each other, we prosper, we must strive to find the optimal meaning in such wonderful phrases of the scriptures. The hint is to be taken from the often told stories of the organs in the body. The organs in the body have a natural and spontaneous cooperation with each other, one that does not require deliberation. The intestinal tract does not debate whether it will digest food for the rest of the body. And the lungs and the heart do not consider not sending oxygen and blood to the stomach. The functioning is natural and mutual. In the same way, I should not be thinking about whether I have to protect my Mother Earth. It should be spontaneous, deshi. In deshi cultures, actually, this thought kept coming in my mind. Deshi cultures or grassroots cultures have this type of reflexive, involuntary cooperation worked out with nature, and so ecological problems never arise. Native American culture is one such great example. And of course, the ancient Rishi culture. Derivative cultures, on the other hand, where ecological literacy that has its rudiments in the divinity of the earth is absent, will almost certainly threaten its own existence. Whereas the son is supposed to save the mother, he will destroy the mother instead. In derivative cultures, cultures that are not deshi, grassroots, that sprung from nature itself. Quite like the situation we have brought on today. Therefore, if we are going to save our Mother Earth and in the bargain save ourselves, this type of environmental literacy has to come from this wonderful Hindu tradition, the literacy that teaches us that the mother is divine, that we cannot go on exhausting the resources at a rate that is not replenishable by the earth and all such things. That I am an integral part of this earth, and if I destroy earth, I destroy myself. We say we protect the earth, it protects us. I say we affect the earth and we are affected by the earth. In other words, whatever I do, I am doing only to myself. I am affecting, but I am affecting myself. This we have to pay very, very close attention to. Okay. Hari Om.
The Sankalpa is a recitation of the formal resolutions we take as participants of this program and as conscious Hindus. Through this, we take the core ideas and important messages of this Sansad into our hearts and into the national consciousness. We ask that if you wish to invoke also these precepts into your lives, having participated in today's program, that you repeat with us the Sankalpas as read by our esteemed Sri Ravi Bharati Ji of the Paramdham Ashrama, and also offered by Srimati Anushka Tilak Singh Ji of Seva International TT and Sri Gautam Maharaj Ji of Bluebirds Sport and Cultural Organization.
Varsha Pratipada Sansad, Sankalpa 2021, Ecology Vai Dharma. We hereby resolve to promote the reflection of Hindu Dharma as it pertains to the environment in our public and private policies. This includes raising the national consciousness in matters of environmental concern such as pollution, overconsumption of natural resources, destruction of nature, overdevelopment of land, destructive personal impact such as use of plastic and other chemical compounds and products which cause detrimental environmental effects. Sadhu.
Sadhu.
2. We hereby resolve to advocate the voice of young people in matters of their stewardship of our future Bhūmī Mātā. This involves promoting spaces where they can develop sensitivity and education in regards to the environmental concerns, promoting spaces where the voices of informed youth can advocate for the planet which they must inherit. Sadhu.
Sadhu.
3. We hereby resolve to promote environment in its deepest context beyond the mere physical geography, but as an appreciation of the interconnected social, emotional, and physical landscapes that creative and collective life experience of an individual. This involves promoting a social environment which sees the divinity in all beings and the earth, and the social policies which reflect these views, strongly advocating for the compassionate and fair treatments for all beings and being a voice for those suffering, supporting the family home, which is the seat of dharma and the place in which healthy spiritual values for the upliftment of the entire society and the earth are brought into awareness and solidified. Sadhu.
Sadhu.
Sangha Daksha Arama. Daksha ध्वज प्रणाम 1 2 3. Rama.
There is a Sanskrit Subhashita which translates as, knowledge is a friend in our travels. The wife is a friend in our home. Medicine is a friend when we are ailing, and dharma is our friend at the time of death and beyond. Dharma is embedded in a Hindu's reverence for life, awareness of nature's forces, the earth, the sky, air, water, and fire, and awareness of the various orders of life, of all living beings, including man. May we, as a nation, adhere to this mantle to honor and to revere that which has been bestowed to us by Bhūmī Mātā. The Varsha Pratipada Sansad sincerely thanks you for your participation today, as well as our presenters and our ingenious technical team. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.